Testing.
This one works. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Test, test. Oh, there we go. There we go. Welcome, everyone. As folks are taking their seats, we are so excited to get started this evening. We have such a wonderful night in store for you, and we are so glad to see you here and joining us for this wonderful conversation. So if we have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Mazie Stilwell. I'm the Executive Director of Progress Iowa. Progress Iowa is, thank you. Thank you so much. Progress Iowa is a multi-issue advocacy organization and our state's progressive communications hub. So we help people to tell their stories, to elevate those stories and make sure they break through all of the noise that we are all hearing on a day-to-day basis. So we would love to have you involved with our work. We hope after this conversation you will stick around in the atrium. We've got some organizations tabling out there. You can also chat with the candidates. We've had so many great questions submitted for our conversation tonight, and we wish that we had time to get to all of them, but we know that we won't. So we hope that you will stick around and chat with the candidates and get to know one another. And I am so honored to have Progress Iowa joined tonight by End Citizens United. And please give a warm welcome to Tiffany.
Well, it is just such an honor and a thrill to be here with all of you tonight and to be hosting this event with our good friends at Progress Iowa and Mazie. Let's hear it again for Progress Iowa. We're just going to do this all night. So I'm Tiffany Muller. I'm the president of End Citizens United, and we are a grassroots-powered organization made up of more than 4 million members across the country, dedicated to rooting out corruption in our system, getting the big money out of politics, and most importantly, giving power back to all of us, where it belongs in our democracy. And we're really honored to host this forum with our partners at Progress Iowa tonight because this forum comes at a really critical moment, not just for Iowa, but for the country. As we watch too many races being decided by billionaire spending and the biggest corporate special interest spending, it is more important than ever that we have a conversation about how to get the big money out of politics and how to give power back to the people. So it is such an honor to be here with all of you tonight, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiffany. We know that everyone here is very Iowa nice, but we will just remind you to let the candidates be the ones speaking here tonight. We know some folks are coming in with a favorite candidate in mind, so others are coming in undecided, and some may be deciding whether to vote at all. So we do hope that we can give the candidates that time to share their ideas with us and to give us that path forward in such a critical moment in our democracy and in the future of our country. So we know that Iowa is front and center in all of that. We are so pleased to start off the conversation tonight. We are excited to get started here with Representative Josh Turek. Please give him a warm welcome.
Crowd.
All right, sir, we are going to give you 1 minute to do your opening.
1 minute's not a lot of time. State Representative Josh Turek. I'm the first permanently disabled member of the Iowa legislature. I am the Democrat that represents the reddest district in the Iowa legislature. Two communities that I represent, Carter Lake, Trump won by 18 points. Council Bluffs, he won by 10 points. I was able to win my district by nearly 6 points. I'm a 4-time Paralympian. I'm a 2-time gold medalist. Been a director of a nonprofit organization for disabled kids. And I'm only here because of the work of a longtime senator, Senator Tom Harkin, and the work that he did on the American with Disabilities Act. And I think this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity that we've got to be able to win this seat back. And once again, here in Iowa, have a senator that's fighting for the people and fighting for social and economic justice. And I think we need more people in D.C. from places like Council Bluffs, Iowa, that have gone through the lived experience, both on the economics and on the healthcare side, because when you've lived it, you'll have a different level of fight.
All right.
I think that's about a minute.
That was great. And we have a timekeeper who is going to help us keep track of this as we go along, and you'll have 2 minutes for each question. We have some great questions that have come in, and we're going to just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So you have rejected corporate PAC contributions in this race. Thank you for that. And voters are really paying attention to it. What about rejecting that money actually means in practice, and how does it change the way you would show up for Iowans in Washington?
Yeah, it was an easy decision for me. I don't view this as morally ambiguous. In my time in the Iowa legislature, what I have learned is that you only have to ask yourself one question, whether legislation moves or does not move. And unfortunately, that question is, follow the money. Where is the lobby? Where are the donors? And unfortunately, what we have right now is we have a situation where we have our current slate of representatives that are just looking out for billionaires, large corporations, and they have outsized influence. And honestly, we can have oligarchy or we can have democracy, but we cannot have both. And I want to go to the U.S. Senate to be fighting for Iowa and Iowans, not for large corporations or billionaires.
So, between corporations jacking up prices and Trump's tariffs hitting working families from every direction, Iowans are being squeezed from all sides with no relief in sight. How would you hold corporations accountable and actually bring everyday costs down for Iowa families?
First thing we've got to do is we've got to have these large corporations paying their fair share along with billionaires. We need to be driving private equity out of healthcare and out of housing. This is what's unnecessarily driving up these costs. And we need to make sure that we've got protections in place for our workers, from raising the minimum wage, on and on. You know, one of the very first bills that I'm going to sponsor in the U.S. Senate is going to be a dignity in work bill. This is going to be to raise the minimum wage. This is going to do away with 14C, which allows a for-profit business to pay someone a sub-minimum wage just due to a disability, and provide collective bargaining rights back to every single one of our laborers, because this is what we need. Fighting for the people, for the middle class, for our laborers. I mean, we really have moved into a have and have not society here, and it's a second Gilded Age, and we need individuals to go to DC to want to fight for the people.
All right, we know that this administration has really put forth a pro-billionaire agenda, right? The worst that we've ever seen. How do you connect what's happening in Washington to what Iowans are feeling at their kitchen table every day?
I mean, you can see it. We're living through this second Gilded Age, and this is largely due to bad state and federal policy. I mean, you've got a tax code that benefits billionaires, and the same, we've eroded what large corporations are paying. And you know, when the folks with MAGA are talking about make America great again, they're talking about America post-World War II, 1950s. This is when we had the most progressive tax code. This is when the largest earners were paying 90%. This is when the largest corporations were paying 50%. We have eroded all that away. And now what we have, due to the lack of regulations in place, we just have individuals up there, currently in the executive branch, but also every single member of Congress and our delegation here in Iowa that are just looking out for these billionaires and large corporations. And it is driving up cost.
Thank you. Iowans in rural communities are watching their local hospitals shut down and their access to reproductive health care disappear. For many, the nearest provider is now hours away. What does your plan look like to reverse that trend and make sure that someone that lives in rural Iowa isn't, that their access to care is not determined by where they live?
Yeah, we've got a healthcare crisis here in this state. You go into these rural communities and they look like they have been hollowed out. These main streets, it look like a vacuum has come through there. They've lost their grocery stores. They've lost their healthcare clinics. They've lost their schools because of what we've done on private vouchers. My plan is, and this is something that's really, really deeply personal to me. I've gone through 21 surgeries before I was even 12 years old. I believe that healthcare is a human right. And I am someone, in the United States Senate, I'm going to fight for a public option to be in place because I believe that every single person, every Iowan, every American deserves access to health care. You should not have to win the genetic lottery. And what we can do, we've got some of the low-hanging fruits. We've got to overturn the big, beautiful bill. We have to have a fully funded Medicare, Medicaid, make sure we have a fully funded ACA, because every single Iowan deserves access to world-class health care.
All right, we had, as Mazie said earlier, we had so many great questions come in from attendees, and so we're gonna get to some of those now. So Chris from Granger asks, what distinguishes you most from your primary opponent?
It's a good question. I don't have anything disparaging to say about Senator Wahls. Zach is a smart and articulate guy. I think this comes down to electability. First and foremost. I'm the only one in this race that's even run against Republican. I represent the reddest district in the entire legislature. As I said, the two communities I represent, Trump won by 18 points and by 10 points. I was able to outperform by 50% more than any other Democrat in the state. And this is with the Republicans spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on negative television ads, Americans for Prosperity spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on paid canvassers, negative mailers, and still outperform them. And I know that I can win because the district that I represent is more red than the state is as a whole. I know that there is something specific about my story, my background, my resume, and my politics that has a unique ability to connect with independents and with Republicans. And I also think that in my time in the legislature, I think there's two very distinct skill sets. There's a skill set to be a great campaigner, and there's also a skill set to be a great legislator. Even though I have been in a trifecta minority, I've gotten a lot of actual legislation across the finish line signed by the governor. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I think those are the two biggest distinctions.
All right. Yes.
I didn't realize how quick that was coming.
Yes. Bob is on it. Thank you, Bob. He's got his timekeeping paddles. Thank you. Our next question comes from Sarah from Des Moines, and she asks, what advice do you have for my Gen Z kids who are working full-time jobs that pay more than twice the current minimum wage rate, and yet 50% of their take-home pay goes to housing?
I hear it everywhere I'm going all across the state. The thing that I hear the most by far is that people here in Iowa are hurting. I mean, we have really bottomed out, dead last for economic growth, dead last for nearly every healthcare metric, lead the nation in cancer rates, lead the nation in farm foreclosures. And we're hearing over and over and over, hearing from young people that are saying they're spending 50% of their income just on housing. And what I would say is, I hear you, I understand it, I've lived it. I'm someone that doesn't come from privilege, from wealth. I'm someone that went through a lot of economic difficulty and healthcare difficulty. I'm someone that went to the Goodwill for my clothes. I'm someone that went to the free summer lunch programs, that had the wrong color lunch tickets. I know what that's like, and this is why I'm running, because we need more individuals in the U.S. Senate that are going to fight for these young people to make sure that the American dream is still accessible to them. I am the American dream. No other country on earth can someone that grew up in the economic and healthcare environment that I grew up in. I want to make sure that that American dream still functions and works for every single one of these young people.
All right, John, I don't know how to say that city's name. Ankeny. Huh.
You didn't know.
When you know I'm actually from Kansas, not from Iowa. Oh, what with the hissing now?
Welcome to Iowa.
Thank you. I've always felt so welcomed. All right, this is not coming out of your time. All right, John asks, we have a growing crisis in the long-term care workforce in Iowa. Too few workers and high turnover produces really unsatisfactory care for older Iowans and Iowans with disabilities. The problem has existed for decades. Will this be a priority for you, and what would you do about it in Congress?
100% a priority for me. The reason why I ran for the legislature to begin with was for two reasons. One is we were seeing a 1,000% increase in the denial rate for basic health care for individuals with disabilities because of the privatization of Medicaid. The other was because we're seeing 27,000 disabled Iowans right now that are on wait list. And what we have seen, because of the privatization of Medicaid, because of cuts, we are seeing an absolute direct care worker crisis. And it does. It affects the elderly and the disabled by far the most. I've run bills in the Iowa legislature to make sure that we've got a minimum wage or a livable wage for our direct care workers, to make sure that we're putting more supports in there. I'm fundamentally against the privatization of Medicaid. And also, this is one of the areas that we can address this with an intelligent immigration system, because we've got about 40% of our direct care workers that were coming from immigration. We need an easier pathway to citizenship for individuals to be able to come into areas like direct care workers.
All right. Jenny from West Des Moines asks, what will you work on to clean up Iowa's filthy water? Ideas on land preservation, conservation, and farmland?
Absolutely. We've got a cancer crisis in this state, and this is directly because of the water quality crisis that we're seeing in this state. We need far more incentives to our farmers to prevent them putting down fertilizer in the fall and in the winter. We need to make sure that we have more incentives to the farmers and regulations in place for cover cropping, for land barriers like states like what Minnesota have done. And honestly, in the U.S. Senate, what I also want to fight for is to make sure we've got regulatory bodies that have the enforcement ability, and also to be able to drop standards for what is allowable in the nitrates. Because every single Iowan deserves access to clean water. I don't care where you sit on the political spectrum.
Bob thinks we're doing well. How are we doing on time, Bob?
I'm going over sometimes, Bob. I'm sorry.
Well, Elena from Ankeny just seems wrong. I think I'm being trolled or something. That
right now in the United States of America, I'm having to tell my wife to keep her passport with her at all times. I mean, what we are seeing is inhumane. It is unjust. In the United States Senate, I would not support any DHS funding without serious reforms to ICE.
All right, well, we have made it through our questions. We do have, of course, many more submitted, but we want to be sure to keep it equal lengths here and make sure that...
Are we taking some from the audience?
Well, that can be...
I don't know. I'm here with you guys.
No,
you tell me what to do.
We did the online submission to help our tech process here as well. But thank you so much, Representative Turek, for spending the time talking about these important issues. And we would welcome you closing us out here with anything you'd like to share with the audience.
Yeah, given the fact that this is in Citizens United, I really do believe that Citizens United was maybe the single worst decision in the United States Supreme Court history. And I am fundamentally committed to doing all that we can to overturn Citizens United, including some of the lower hanging fruit like passing the Disclose Act. In the legislature in Iowa, I have run bills to make sure that we have the exact same standards of what's a max contribution, both at the state and federal level, making sure that any contribution that's above $250 actually has transparency and we know where that money has come from. I've run a bill to put a $5,000 cap on any PAC or super PAC money coming in here. We have to drive the money out of our politics. This is a country that is of the people, for the people, by the people. And right now what we have, due to decisions like Citizens United, is we have a country that is for billionaires, of the large corporations, and run by the lobbyists. And this is why I say I am not a millionaire. I do not come from privilege. I do not come from class. Born and raised in Council Bluffs, Iowa, I'm someone that went through an enormous amount of economic adversity, healthcare adversity, and we need more individuals up in the United States Senate from places like Council Bluffs, Iowa, that are going to fight for the people, because that's what we deserve here in Iowa, is to have a senator that is fighting for the people, not for the billionaires and the large corporations. That was really quick.
It felt really fast, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Well, thank you again to.
Yeah, you're on.
I am on. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you again to Representative Turek for that conversation. We do know that, of course, we would make up questions of our own if we. Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay. All right. I was not on. But truly, we appreciate the campaigns taking the time out of their schedules to have these conversations, and we know that this is so important for Iowans to hear. We know also that it was just announced that Republicans have committed, what was
$29 million.
$29 million to in their support of Ashley Hinson in this race. Yeah. So we know this is.
They think they can come in here and buy this race.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to let them, are we?
Nope. So again, just very grateful to be having the conversation at such an important time. And so we are glad to continue that conversation now. We'd like to welcome Senator Zach Wahls.
No, we'll give you a second to get the water.
These handhelds, I think we don't want to do that to anyone's ears to drop the mic. So.
Well, Senator, before we hop into questions, we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to tell us about you. So can you take a minute and talk to everyone about you?
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Zach Wahls, and I am really excited to be here tonight for this conversation with End Citizens United in Progress, Iowa. I'm a sixth-generation Iowan, currently serving my second term in the Iowa State Senate. I was first elected in 2018 at the age of 27. I was the youngest member of the Iowa Senate. 7 years later, I am still the youngest member of the Iowa Senate at the age of 34. And when we defeat Ashley Hinson in November, I will be the youngest member of the United States Senate. I am a husband, my incredible wife, Chloe, the father of our adorable 2-year-old son, Elijah, although he did recently learn how to climb out of his crib. And I will tell you, running for the U.S. Senate with a 2-year-old, certainly not for the faint of heart. One who can climb out of his crib, even more so. But I will tell you, the reason I'm so excited about tonight's conversation is because when we first launched this campaign last year, the corruption and the influence of the special interests and the billionaires and the big corporations emerged very quickly as one of the biggest concerns that Iowans face all over our state. It is an enormous problem. We have to confront it head on. It's exactly what we're doing in this campaign. That is exactly what we're going to do in the United States Senate.
All right, well, that's We'll see. All right, there we go. Now we're on. Well, I can relate on the 2-year-old front. That is terrifying at times, but it's a good thing we have those great partners to make it all happen. We love them and cherish them. That's right. Well, it's a good segue into our first question here. You have said that families can't get real relief when politicians are allowed to profit off of their office. So if elected, what are some of the first things that you would want to change to show people that the government can actually work for them?
I really appreciate the question because I think that the lack of trust in our government is one of the biggest problems that we face. I'm a Democrat because we are the party that since the New Deal has fought for workers' rights and civil rights and women's rights. That is who we are as a party. We are also the party that understands that government at its best can do really important things to make people's lives better, to give them a fair shot, and to build a better future for our kids and our grandkids. That's why we introduced legislation to protect Social Security, to scrap the cap, make sure that billionaires are paying their fair share. But to restore that trust, we have to lead by example. And so there are 3 different places where we have pledged to do that in this campaign and to do that in office. Number 1, we have refused to accept corporate PAC money, which I'm sure we'll get into more soon. We've also pledged, I'm a strong supporter of term limits. I pledged to only serve 2 terms in the U.S. Senate if elected. I have developed a new appreciation over the last 2 years for Mark Twain's observation that politicians in diapers should be changed regularly and for the exact same reason. And finally, I have also made a promise that if elected to the United States Senate, this will apply to myself, to my family, and to my staff, I will not buy, own, trade, sell any individual stocks, cryptocurrencies, gamble on prediction markets. And you can take it to the bank or your local credit union that if elected to the U.S. Senate, I will be co-sponsoring bipartisan legislation on all 3 of those topics, the exact same way that earlier this year I was very proud to introduce a state level of ending Citizens United by amending the Iowa state constitution with a Republican state senator who I have profound disagreements with on many subjects, but we agree that it is time to curb the reign of big corporations and billionaires in our political process.
So we know that this administration has put forth a pro-billionaire agenda, probably one of the biggest we've ever seen. How is that affecting Iowans who are struggling with real costs here at home?
Everywhere we go, we ask a simple question, and I'll ask everybody here tonight. Does anybody here think that Elon Musk needed another tax cut? No. Interestingly, we get the same answer everywhere we go. We are going to cross our 300th event for this campaign coming up here in just a few weeks. And all over our state, in big cities, small towns, and rural communities alike, Iowans can see that we have a government that is working great for the billionaires, great for the big corporations, but it is not working for us. That is why Iowans are speaking out against the cuts to Medicaid that are an existential threat to our rural hospitals and clinics. We just saw a few weeks ago Ottumwa announced that they will be losing another clinic because of the cuts that we have seen, cuts to things like food assistance, ending investments in clean and affordable energy. Every single one of those is either limiting opportunity for Iowans or increasing costs. We know that because of this bill that Ashley Hinson voted for, the average utility costs for Iowans are going through the roof. That is happening here in our state. I'm sure many of the folks in this room have seen their utility bills going up since that law took effect. And we are going to continue to see that happen because we have, at its core, a connection between this economy that's working great for the big corporations, but not for us, and the corruption of our political system. I have seen that firsthand in the legislature. I have watched Ashley Hinson side with lobbyists and sell out hardworking Iowa families. That is the corruption that we have to confront head on, and that is exactly what I'll do in the Senate.
Your turn. Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. I think it's that one.
Okay, great. All right. Republicans are so beholden to their billionaire donors and insurance lobbyists that they let critical ACA tax credits expire. We know that this will make it harder for many Iowans to afford insurance at the worst possible time when costs are already too high. Can you talk about how the expiration of these tax credits impacts everyday Iowans, and why is protecting access to affordable health care so important?
My sister is one of the over 100,000 Iowans whose health care premiums went up because these tax credits expired. She saw the cost of her premium triple as a result of the vote that Ashley Hinson took to end this investment in lowering the cost of health care for a lot of middle-class Iowa families. So it's not theoretical for me. I mean, they're coming after my little sister, and as a big brother, that makes me really angry. And it makes me angry on behalf of so many constituents who I have met across our state who have been saying very similar stories, whether it's on prescription medication, whether it is on the lack of coverage of their health care plan. At its core, we need a health care system that understands that healthcare is a human right. That is why we have proposed lowering the Medicare enrollment age so we can expand it, making sure that we have a public option so people can buy into Medicare, even if they haven't reached that age, and expanding what Medicare coverage to include things like vision and dental and hearing. These are specific, tangible things that we can do with a Democratic majority that will expand access to healthcare, lower costs, introduce more competition, and finally take on the big pharmaceutical companies that have been making so many different things happen that are making prescription medication less affordable. That is exactly what I have voted to do in the Iowa State Senate, tackling these middlemen. It's exactly what I'll do in the U.S. Senate as well.
So we know that working families are being squeezed right now with corporations raising their prices, with tariffs, and so many things are making it harder for families to make ends meet. That's a lot of what we've been talking about. What can we do to hold these corporations accountable and lower everyday costs?
Well, we need to have elected leaders who have the courage to take on these companies head on. My very first year in the Iowa legislature, in 2019, big corporations came into Iowa, started buying mobile home communities and trailer parks and jacking up the monthly lot rent by outrageous amounts, including right here in Polk County and Dallas County, 50%, 60%, 70%. This one company from Utah bought 3 different trailer parks in my district, proposing massive increases. And so I went to work fighting for my people. I actually reached across the aisle and was able to get a bill passed out of the Iowa Senate protecting my constituents 48-0. We sent that bill over to the Iowa House. And then I was in the room and I watched it happen as Ashley Hinson killed my bipartisan bill as a favor to the lobbyist representing those big out-of-state companies. So when we talk about the connection between an economy that is not working for us, but is working great for the out-of-state investment companies, and the corruption of our politics and the special interests, I was in the room and I watched it happen. Iowa saw Ashley Hinson sell us out for, frankly, an insultingly small amount of money. But that is how these corporations operate. If they can buy a politician off, they will absolutely do that 7 days a week. And I'm running for the United States Senate because Iowans deserve a United States Senator who cannot be bought, who cannot be bossed, and who is always willing to fight for them. I will tell you this, I have not won every single fight that I've been in the legislature, but I have never backed down, and as your United States Senator, I never will.
All right, we're going to shift to some audience-submitted questions. Now, we want to give folks in the room an apples-to-apples look here at the campaign, so don't give anything away, all right? We're going to start off here with a question submitted by Chris, who's from Granger. And Chris asks, what distinguishes you most from your primary opponent?
Look, Representative Turek and I, are certainly both served in the legislature for some time, but I will tell you there is a real difference in this race. Actions speak a lot louder than words. We are talking right now about the impact of corporate PAC money and how that has affected a lot of Iowans in our economy. But right now, there is a dark money super PAC that is currently spending millions of dollars bolstering Representative Turek's campaign. We see this happen on both sides. There are groups like Americans for Prosperity, a group funded by the Koch brothers, who I'm sure you are all familiar with. Americans for Prosperity is a nice name, so is Elon Musk's America PAC. But this organization that is supporting my Democratic opponent, Representative Turek, which is called Vote Vets, is well known to be linked to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. And I don't think it is a coincidence that on the very first day of my campaign, I said, I think it is time for new leadership in the Senate Democrats, and Representative Turek has not taken that position. And so if you think that there is not a connection between those two things, I don't know what to tell you. But I will tell you this, we have to take on this problem of these super PACs spending enormous amounts of money in our elections, no matter which side of the aisle it's on. Because the Republicans know that we can win this race, and that is why they are spending $29 million this November to try to buy this seat for Ashley Hinson. But Iowans are going to see through this smokescreen. We are going to do what it takes not only to win this nomination, but to defeat Ashley Hinson. And my promise to every single person here watching is this. As your U.S. Senator, I will not be there to work for Chuck Schumer or for Donald Trump or the billionaires or the big corporations. I am running for the United States Senate because Iowans deserve a senator who works for us.
I like that we mix these up because now I get to say ones like Sarah from Des Moines asks, what advice do you have for my Gen Z kids working full-time jobs that pay more than twice the current minimum wage rate, and yet 50% of their take is going to housing costs?
So look, I'll tell you this. We hear this no matter whether you are in Des Moines or in Des Moines County, in a big city or a small town. So many people, and especially young people, are struggling with the costs of housing. My wife and I, we have one kid. Our daycare costs as much as our mortgage. I had coffee last November with a friend of mine from high school named Jeff. He had moved to the Des Moines area recently. He and his wife want to start a family, but it's this exact scenario between, and by the way, he's not in Gen Z, but between the cost of their apartment and the cost of their childcare, neither of them wants to quit their job. They literally cannot afford to start a family. And I'll tell you this, Jeff is a conservative Republican. And he mentioned to me as we were having this coffee, Zach, I get all your texts and emails, and you do send a lot of them. And I don't agree with you on a lot. But I will tell you this, you were 100% right about the cost of childcare. And I'll tell you this, I really like that you're willing to talk about your anti-corruption message. I love the term limits. I love banning members of Congress from trading stocks. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people like Jeff, Democrats, independents, Republicans, who are feeling the squeeze of this economy, who are sick of the corruption, and who are ready to rotate the crops in Washington, D.C. When we turned in our nominating petition signatures to get on the ballot a few weeks ago, because of our incredible grassroots volunteers, we had more than tripled the number of signatures that we needed to get onto the ballot. And I was particularly proud that 15% of the people who signed our petitions were registered independents and Republicans. That is because taking on the corruption is exactly the message that we need to win back the voters who our party has lost. I have won elections in counties that voted for Barack Obama in 2012, Donald Trump in 2016, and for Zach Wahls in 2018, Cedar and Muscatine counties. I've been the only Democrat on those panels talking with people, winning them over. That is exactly what it's going to take to win this election in November and to bring some real change to the United States Senate.
All right, our next question comes from John from Ankeny, and he asks, we have a growing crisis in the long-term care workforce in Iowa. Too few workers and high turnover produces unsatisfactory care for older Iowans and Iowans with disabilities. The problem has existed for decades. Will this be a priority for you, and what can Congress do about it?
I really appreciate this question because the crisis that we are seeing in Iowa senior care facilities is something that comes up whether, in fact, we got questions about it in Council Bluffs, we've gotten questions about it in small towns, big cities, doesn't matter where you are. What we have seen happen in senior care is the same story that we've seen happen in so many other parts of our economy. In 2024, a single private equity company, this is a large investment company, purchased 24 different nursing homes, 2,500 beds in one single transaction. Me fighting for my constituents who lived in those trailer parks, it is the same story that you're seeing here. You see these big investment companies come in, they buy these facilities, they increase the cost, quality goes down, workers don't get a raise, they get ground out, and then families are stuck paying unbelievable amounts of money to pay for the support of one of the most important people in their lives, their parents. We see the same story playing out. Here's another example. We were in Southwest Iowa in Cass County in Atlantic, meeting with local community leaders. Raise your hand if you know that if you already knew that in the last decade, the price for a new fire truck in this country has tripled. Okay, a handful of people here, maybe you work in city government. I did not know that. And when I heard that, I was absolutely outraged by this. I started calling around both in my district and across the state. It turns out this is a statewide problem and this is a national problem, and it's the same story. It is a single private equity company that has come in and consolidated almost half of that manufacturing sector, tripling the price, doubling the weight cost, and fire trucks are not an optional expense for a local government. I know a lot of folks have been talking to me recently about the fact that property taxes are going up and they're really unaffordable. One of the reasons that is the case is because our property tax money is padding the profit margins of these big corporations. And that is why we need a senator who will enforce antitrust laws and tackle these big companies head on.
All right, Ginny from West Des Moines asks, what will you work on to clean up Iowa's filthy water? Ideas on land preservation, conservation, and farmland.
Jane, thank you so much for the question. Another question here for the audience. How many people here know somebody battling cancer or whose life has been affected by cancer some way? I mean, almost every single one of us. Iowa leads the country in terms of rising cancer rates, number 2 overall rates. And we know that there is a direct connection between the cancer crisis and our state's water quality crisis. And we need a senator with the courage to say that out loud and to do something about it in Washington, D.C. I will tell you, I have served on the Ag Committee in the Iowa State Senate. I understand how to talk about these issues with people who are farmers. And what I will tell you is that a lot of these farmers are frankly just as trapped in this system as the rest of us, because the current approach to agriculture in this country does not really work for most farmers. It works great for the big businesses and some of the biggest corporate farms, but not for the vast majority of Iowa farmers, and certainly not for our communities. And that is why we need to make sure that we are investing in conservation programs that actually work, that we are cracking down on the consolidation that we have seen. And one thing that is also really important is making sure that we completely transform how farm credit works in this country. That might sound like a little wonky, but it is incredibly difficult for young farmers to actually get a loan to buy the land that they want to farm on. What they can get a loan for is to build a new hog building. So if you're wondering why there are more of those, that's because the current system incentivizes that. But I will also tell you this, those young farmers who want to get started but can't, they get conservation in a way that a lot of their parents and grandparents don't. Those 24, 25-year-olds, and as a Hawkeye, they're fresh out of Iowa State most of the time, they get it. And so what we need to do is make sure that we are empowering them and that they have the tools and the resources that they need to adopt those conservation practices. This is a problem that we can solve. It won't be easy. It will require taking on these big monopolies that are currently calling the shots. But I know that we can do it, and I know that we can win elections in rural Iowa and small towns by talking about farmers and farm communities being a part of the solution and understanding that the problem is in Washington.
All right. Our last question here comes from Elena from Ankeny. And she asks, as ICE continues to expand its reach and local collaborations in Iowa, what are your concrete plans to ensure the rights of all Iowans are respected and that due process is upheld?
Well, first, let me just say this. Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good should both still be alive. I will also say this is a place where actions speak louder than words. It is a fact of the voting record that Representative Turek was one of 3 Democrats to vote with Republicans on a bill 2 years ago that required Iowa law enforcement to work with ICE on immigration enforcement. This is a bill that the ACLU of Iowa described as the worst anti-immigrant law that our state had ever seen. I voted against that bill, and I spoke against that bill. And what I said then is 100% true today, which is that laws like that do not make Iowans more safe. They make Iowans less safe. Because any person, if you are afraid to report a crime, whether you are the victim of domestic violence or sexual assault or burglary, and if you are afraid to report that because of your immigration status, that means that that perpetrator stays at large, and that makes every single person who calls this state home less safe. We have to absolutely overhaul and reform ICE as an agency. We need to make sure that we have immigration enforcement that respects the Constitution, that respects basic human rights, and understands that every single person who lives in this country has basic rights under our Constitution, and I will fight for your rights as your United States Senator. And I think I got 30 seconds left, so let me just say this. Ashley Hinson, by contrast, cheerleaded these shootings. She was out there talking about how good of a job ICE was doing. But I will tell you this, I don't agree with the NRA very often. But when even the NRA is saying that Alex Preddy should be alive, that he was exercising his constitutional rights, that tells you something about how far they have gone, how extreme Ashley Hinson has become. I used to say that she was kind of like the Marjorie Taylor Greene of the Midwest. But these days, I need a new comparison because Marjorie Taylor Greene looks reasonable compared to Ashley Hinson.
All right, thank you. We would invite you to give a brief closing here for our audience, and then we will invite folks out to the atrium to continue the conversations.
15 years ago, some of you may remember I was not a two-term state senator. I was a scared teenager standing in front of the Iowa legislature, defending my family from politicians who wanted to use my parents' marriage as a wedge issue to divide our state. There's a part of that story I don't talk about as much. In 2004, and I am going to date myself, I was in the 8th grade watching the Republican National Convention. And it was a social studies assignment. You had to watch the speeches that night and then go talk about it in class the next day. And I'll never forget what it was like watching some of the most powerful people in the world talk about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, the global war on terror in one breath, and the next breath, talk about families like mine. And when I got into class the next day, I wanted to say something, but I was too scared. And that lack of courage, that shame, that stuck with me. And that was why in 2011, I went and I said what I said. That was why in 2019, when my constituents needed a champion, I was willing to fight for them. That is why when we launched this campaign, I had the courage to say it is time for new leadership for this party because it is unacceptable to have the state of this country with what's currently happening in the Senate and a leader like Chuck Schumer who is clearly not meeting the moment. As your United States Senator, I will not care what the insiders, the super PACs, the lobbyists, everybody, what they have to say. I am running for the United States Senate because at a young age I learned what it feels like when you need a champion, and as your United States Senator, I will be that champion.
All right, folks.
What a great conversation.
It really was. I'm very impressed with
we were
how
TikTok
well
on time.
I think it's really a credit to Bob's timekeeping skills.
It really was.
And
Let's hear it for Bob.
And the fact that we tend to, maybe we assumed that politicians were a
Gonna run
little
on.
longer-winded than they actually were tonight, which we really appreciate. So we did schedule the rest of this time with us here tonight to be able to talk to these candidates. We know that you have more questions, and we knew that we would not be able to get to all of them even if we took this conversation till 10 o'clock. So we would invite you to hang out in the atrium, talk to the candidates yourselves, talk to each other, and certainly make your plan to vote. We know that that engagement is so important at a time where, again, money is trying to make our decisions for us here in Iowa.
Yeah, I want to thank both candidates tonight. Let's hear it again for them. I want to thank Mazie and the Amazing Progress Iowa crew for helping us with this and for partnering on this forum. I want to thank all of you for attending and for everyone who's watching on the live stream for your time tonight. Thank you all for welcoming me. I know this Kansan felt your welcome, so I really appreciate it. We talked about a lot of important issues tonight, and you got to hear from both candidates on a lot of important issues, and I hope you will take Mazie up on her offer to have a further conversation with them in the atrium afterwards, and definitely vote. We have to vote. The most important tool that we have in our democracy is our power to vote, so make sure you vote, your family votes, your friends vote, your neighbors vote. And that's it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.